Thanks for coming again, guys. I see a lot of new faces today as well, which is really nice. Manos, I know Manos since about 5-6 years ago. We shared the same studio in Bethnal Green, and that's how we met each other. And I thought your photography was really nice. I told you the other day when we were talking, I think it's a bit sensitive. You know, you photograph in a way that you really care about the story. Yeah. What kind of photography do you say you do when people ask you in parties and in, well, how do you describe it?
That is the thing. Actually, I've struggled with that quite a bit. I mean, most people will call what I do food and lifestyle. But then again, lifestyle is like lifestyle. You expect people to be with a martini on top of a terrace somewhere, you know? But these days, I just say I shoot people, places, and food. So I'm a photographer of people, places, and food, or food, places, and people, depending on whom I'm addressing. But technically, it's called lifestyle and food, I suppose.
Would it be wrong to call it documentary?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, documentary is such a holy word, you know. If you use the word documentary, documentarists will say like, dude, you're not a documentarist, because documentary is something like you just spend like a year with a family up in the Appalachian Mountains or something, and then you just take a series of pictures about that. So, yeah, at some point I had this discussion with somebody and I invented the term soft social documentary, but it's not. It's like, it's actually, a nice term would be like narrative photography, because technically it's narrative. I'm just telling like little stories of things, even if it's just food or somebody's story about food or somebody's story about something. Because it's not, what I'm doing is not only food and lifestyle, it's more kind of, I get booked sometimes by magazines to do like some editorial story about some people doing something somewhere in the world. So it's I mean, documentaries, yeah, might be the thing, but my stuff is not attached to social issues, and that's why I don't use the word. But storytelling might be a nice word.
It's still story. I was about to say still storytelling.
It is a kind of storytelling, yeah. So technically, I'm a storyteller with a love for food. It's nice, actually. I could use that.
So if we take any of these books, any of these projects, how the process starts for something like this, for those of us that have never done it before. So these are all cookbooks, is that right?
These are all, technically, these are cookbooks, yeah. These are cookbooks, but all three of them, they have a very strong travel feeling, because they are, a lot of traveling was involved. So
what is the process like? How does this start? Who picks the place? Who picks the food?
Well, mostly it doesn't start with me. Mm-hmm. I'm getting contacted as soon as the author has some sort of contract with a magazine or a publisher. So then they just start suggesting photographers, and then I get a call or like an email, and they say like, look, there's this person and they have this idea about this book. It's going to be like a food thing and about this place. So are you interested? And then I can say, yeah, I am interested, or no, because this is kind of like not my thing, or whatever. And so the story exists. So let's say somebody has an idea about, I don't know, the recipes of the...
Let's take one of these.
Chinese mountains or whatever.
You said one of them is about rare Greek recipes?
Yeah, that is the one you're holding, The Salt of the Earth. That was published by Quadrille books 2 years ago. And the author is Carolina Doriti. She's a Greek chef and kind of food historian in a way, because she has this amazing deep knowledge about weird things like how monks used to cook lamb 200 years ago or something. So she sold this project to this publisher, and I had worked with a publisher before, so they kind of contacted me, and I'm Greek, which helps if the book is in Greece. So we were trying to understand, I was trying to understand like what sort of style they wanted, because you can do it in many different ways. Mm-hmm. And since she's a relatively young author, and that would be her first book, and I happened to know her, So I had a vague idea of how she is as a person. I kind of came up with an idea of, let's do it like a little bit minimal. Let's do it very simple, not very grandmothery, not very Greek kind of, shepherd with a lamb in his head kind of thing. Let's do it kind of like a modern Greek person, very smooth palette of colors, kind of nice shadows and light. And
did you use any visual reference to communicate this to her, or did she know what you were talking about?
Yeah, we always do. I mean, she sent me like a PDF with a lot of images, and some of them happened to be by me because she had another book I had done before, and I sent another one. So we kind of like got together. We did a Zoom meeting with art director, and so we had like a vague idea how we're going to do it. And then I always, if it's a first-time author, somebody I work with for the first time, I always do some sort of like test shoot. So we said like, okay, let's do 2 days of shooting. Let's cover like 10 recipes, and let's do some portraits and some kind of atmosphere work, and see if the publisher likes what they see, like like the rendering and the color grading, and that's what we started with. So they have an idea of how the food is going to look, if there's going to be a lot of props or very little props, if the light is going to be strong or it's going to be like atmospherical or like northern light or southern light, this kind of thing.
And that's a test shoot, is before?
Yeah, we didn't call it a test shoot, we just called it like day one kind of thing. So, I had the assignment, we were just...
finding the style.
Yeah, adapting to each other, adapting to the style, yeah.
So when you decided this is going to happen, where was the shoot happening?
The shoot had to happen in Greece because that's where she lives. She has a kid, so she couldn't travel to London.
In Athens?
It happened in Athens, yeah.
And the location, did you have locations in it as well?
Yeah, we did. Because she has like strong connections to a couple of places, and so we thought like it would be a great idea if we could shoot her doing things out in the countryside. So we went to 2 islands for this book. We went to Tinos and Aegina. And so I had arranged a couple of things to happen there. Like we had arranged for a fishing boat to, well, not go out fishing, but just for her to kind of like cook on the fishing boat, because she had like this recipe about a fish soup. And the idea was like fishermen cook on the fishing boat. So she did that as well, which was great fun. And normally in the UK, you just start calling people and like some location agency, and you just find somebody who knows somebody who you call the person. In Greece, it does work like that. You just go to the island, find some fisherman, it's like, hey, can we shoot on your boat? And he goes like, hey, come over, So I had to kind of do that. So, yeah.
When you go to a location like this, because I know you may shoot a lot of this stuff, not in the studio, but where you live or where you are with a chef.
Yeah.
But when you go to a location and you have to still photograph the food, I imagine, and photograph some portraits and photograph the landscape, are there any like specific images you are looking for before you go there? Is there like a list of things you want to achieve?
Yes,
like,
well,
I want these 3 images.
There is a little bit. What I'm doing is I'm trying to think as the author. So if I'm doing a book that you've created, right? I need to get to know you and just see what you love. So we just have a long chat, we get to know each other, we just have a couple of drinks, so that I understand like your background and how you would imagine the photos to be. So let's say you're not a photographer, okay? And then we just exchange stories and all that. So when I go to shoot atmosphere shots on, on location, if it's not about food, so you just send me for a week, let's say the book is about, I don't know, like Cornwall,
Yeah.
So I just travel along through Cornwall, but we've talked before, so I know that you had like some experiences at the beach with your parents or whatever. So I'm just instinctively, I'm looking for similar things to shoot that I believe.
How do you know I had some experiences with my parents at the beach?
Well, we have talked before.
Okay, so you speak with...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I cannot work for somebody I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. How would I know how they feel about things,
So then you go there and you try to make images out of the...
I kind of like try to get, in your shoes. or in somebody's shoes. I just have this visual idea of what I believe somebody is. I might be wrong, but I mean, the photos would be probably like nice anyway, but I'm just trying to kind of like imagine that they would be part of your life. For example, if I set up a recipe, right? I would want to know how you are, how you live. I wouldn't put on, around a dish some weird things that you would never have in your place. So that I try to connect, the shot with the person that it's for. Now, if I'm not shooting for somebody, if I'm just shooting for a magazine, if they call and say, look, go and shoot, I don't know, the cheesemakers of Turkey, whatever. Well, obviously that's a completely different setup. Then I have to do some research, see how those guys, where they are, how they live, and then I'm just trying to make it as real as possible on an on-location basis. So I wouldn't go and just completely rearrange the cheesemaker shop. I will just go and just say like, okay, if it's like that, then I want you to do something that you do every day, and I just try to document it.
Okay.
It's just a storytelling kind of thing. So that's where the storytelling comes into the whole process. It's always a little bit about a story.
So you try to interfere less to change less?
I try to make things look natural. Sometimes there's a lot of interference there because, for example, this book we're talking about, it was shot in her lounge in Athens. Mm-hmm. So this is like a normal lounge. I mean, she has a kid, it's like stuff around, all furniture for her mother or her grandma or whatever. So we had to set up an atmosphere of an imaginary place, which means that I had to prepare backgrounds. Yeah.
Then you had to, it's almost like you turn the space into a studio a little bit.
Technically, yes. Yeah. I mean, most of the time I integrate things that I find. Like, if I see something beautiful, I just use it. I can just take it and just.
I like that you pointed at our wall when you said.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very nice surface. I mean, obviously you can use different parts of it for different shots.
So let's say I am a photographer who I know how to take pictures, but I have never done this kind of photography before. How would you say I can start doing this now? What would be like the 5 steps I need to do to become a professional storyteller?
Let's concentrate more about the food thing, because it's so hard. I mean, I have no idea how to become a storyteller.
On food photography.
But food is something. Well, first of all, you have to have an interest in food. Mm-hmm. I mean, who doesn't, right? But I mean, it's like food is like a portrait technically, because it's like every dish is different, like every face is different, and there are certain ways to use the light, as it's with portraits as well. So there are certain angles where it looks amazing, and there are certain other angles where it looks like crap. Mm-hmm. And there are certain rules about food, for some weird reason food looks good if you light it from the back. Like the traditional kind of Rembrandt-y thing is like somewhere in the back, some light comes in, there are nice reflections or whatever. And this might look good for some dishes, it might look bad for others, so you have to kind of always break the rules. But it's quite funny actually, I've seen many people in restaurants photographing their food with their phones, and they don't really bother like moving the phone around a bit, they just snap it. Mm-hmm. But if you move the phone around, you just move the dish a little bit towards the light, or if there's like artificial light, just to catch some reflections, you might get like definitely a 50% better shot if you just really spend a minute, just not just snap it. So it's about, in many instances, I set up my little studio wherever I'm shooting. If I'm shooting, I always use mostly I use like a mix of daylight and some sort of artificial light, be it flash or some I don't know, tungsten or LED or whatever. So I set up something, but then when the dish arrives ready to be shot, I always move around because I just really don't know how it's going to work. You really can't know. So it's all about observing. I mean, if you observe a lot how food looks. While you're eating, or like if you're like at a market, you just see like, okay, how these salads, they look lovely today because the light is falling on them from some window. But hang on, why does it look better than this one? And then you just realize, because like the angle is in a way that it gives some reflections on the little water drops that are on it. So if you just record that, at some point it becomes kind of a visual guide.
So basically the first thing is to learn how to photograph food and get some experience on that specifically.
Yeah.
But is there anything else someone could do if they want to do this professionally?
Well, I'd say like...
Is there like, who do you contact if you want to do this kind of work? What kind of people do you contact in the industry?
Well, if you want to start, I mean, the best bet is to assist. So you just have to say, like, grab a magazine or a book or Pinterest or Instagram and just see who does good food photography, or at least food photography you like. And then you just contact those guys and say, look, I'm a photographer, I'm like a, I don't know, budding photographer, and I just want to kind of like learn how things are. Do you use assistants? Most people use assistants at some stage, and if you say, look, I just want to have a look, just shadow you for a day. I can imagine many people. I mean, I would do it if it's somebody who's interested. And then you just start understanding the logistics of it all. Because food, like every job, every photography job, is a lot about logistics. A lot of people need to cooperate to prepare a food shot. You need somebody to cook it, somebody to style it, somebody to just art direct it, because you need to know where it's going. It's a completely different process if the shot is for a magazine, or for an ad, or for a book, because in the book it has to kind of be part of a series. A magazine is less so, and it's more daring, because magazines are kind of like you can experiment much more, whereas a book has to be more conservative because it addresses people who are going to read it to cook. A magazine can be kind of a fancy thing. And if it's commercial, then you got to follow very, very strict rules about where exactly the food should be, because there's going to be text here and something else there. And also it has to be really perfect. I mean, you can allow yourself a lot more mistakes in a magazine, because people need to believe that it's kind of like a homemade thing. But if it's ad, I mean, look at a burger, like, I don't know, Burger King or something, they're bloody perfect. Everything is like really intricate.
Do you know someone sued them for their burger not looking like in the picture? I think it was Burger King a few years ago. It went viral, a story.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they won. Because
Really?
yeah, I think they won because it was a completely different.
I've seen the series on Instagram about like taking food from restaurants or like fast food chains, and then they're comparing the shot to the real thing.
I think especially the burgers look completely different.
Oh yeah.
You recently did so. Let's say you do this assisting as well. No, actually, let's talk about how did you start doing this? Like, if we go back, probably in Greece, right?
Yeah, it is in Greece, and that's a very funny story because, a little bit fast backward. So, my career as a photographer started in Germany, and the reason was I went there to study engineering, but it was a little bit too boring, so I wanted to become a photographer, and then I started assisting. And then I stayed there for many years, did a lot of things, but nothing with food. So then I had to go back to Greece, and I was looking for a studio. And there was this Greek photographer who was leaving his studio to go live somewhere else. So I took over. And with the studio, I inherited a food client, because the client just thought like, okay, I'll try the new guy. And I had never done food before. And he was a commercial food client, but I was very good with like stills and stuff. So, so I ended up with a food client, and I started enjoying it very much. And then I met somebody who wanted to do a cookbook. And I said, look, yeah, I mean, I have never done a cookbook before, but I'll be happy to try if you are willing to kind of, you know.
Direct.
Yeah. So that's how I came into that thing. And actually food was the reason why I came to London, because after a specific point in Greece, I was kind of like doing the same things over and over again. I was doing a lot of commercial stuff back
When
then.
you say a commercial client, what kind of brand would that be? Would it be like a supermarket brand? Would it be like a...
Oh, back then, yeah, it was. I had like a lot of people who used to do. I used to do a lot of packaging. Like, for example, I don't know, like lots of.
For a specific brand?
Yeah, ready-made food and lots of products. Kind of, I don't know, whole series of photography that was designed that was made to be used as labels for, I don't know, corn or baked beans, or you name it, like Campbell's kind of style, you know, this kind of thing, a lot of that. So that was like a very studio intense thing. And when I got my first food and travel assignment, I thought like, oh, hey, this is it. I mean, I really love that. I need, yeah. Because it was so much more exciting, you know, you just used to travel. It was like a lot more tiring, very long hours and all that, and a lot of stuff to carry, but it was a lot of fun. So there are not so many assignments like that in Greece. I mean, there are like a couple of magazines, but that's pretty much it. But they are in London, so you've got like all the big publishers are here, lots of mags. And I started kind of like pitching to those guys and just sending portfolios, and more work came. And then at some point I thought like, okay, I'm going to drop the Greek studio thing and started gradually moving to London and doing work here. So that's how the transition happened.
You said to me the other day that you recently did a project in your neighborhood with a bakery that you really liked.
Yeah, that's his.
Which I thought was very interesting and very inspiring as a way to create work for yourself, but then also you ended up selling it, I think, as a story to a magazine.
That was actually quite successful, this particular one. About a year ago, I started a blog. I think it's less than a year. Yeah, about a year ago. I mean, I used to have a silly blog just posting, you know, stuff. And then, you know, the social media came and Instagram, so there was no point in having a blog. And then I resurrected the blog beginning of the year with the sole purpose of like inventing assignments for myself that I would otherwise want to have from magazines or whoever, but they just actually didn't happen. And so I started the blog as a storytelling tool, you know. So I kind of assigned myself to do things. Mm-hmm. So I was like on both sides of the table. So this particular assignment was kind of, I wanted to do something that has to do with a maker of food. And around that time I saw a guy who was spending long hours in a place preparing a bakery in Walthamstow. I live in Walthamstow. And so I kind of like stalked him, you know. I was just on my way back and forth to the studio. I used to see that guy like setting up things and just baking and doing, but he hadn't opened yet. So when he opened, I just went there and said like, look, I love what you do. I mean, he's doing really amazing bread, like really great stuff. So I went and said, look, how about if we should spend a day together and I just do a bit of photography, a bit of video of you, and then I just publish it on my blog. And he was game. So I just went there. And it was like a dreadful day, like it was raining the whole bloody day. Light was shit, but I had like my flashes with me and a bit of like a couple of LEDs and stuff. So I shot like a hell of a lot, and they were like kind of training the new guys that day. And I kind of edited down a story, and I wrote it also. I mean, I like writing. I'm not a professional writer by any stretch, but I like writing. And then I posted it on the blog, and everybody was super happy about it. And then I pitched it. I sent it to a couple of editors I know, just for the sake of it. You know, I have this blog. And then there is this company, they're called Ink Global. So they work with airline magazines, and I had worked with them before. And they said, hey, we love that. We love the story. We want to have it for the Ethiopian Airlines magazine. Yeah. So, I mean, that was a win-win because I made some money out of that thing. And I was actually quite surprised to find that you get much more money when you write the story, which is definitely something I'm going to after in the future. You get double the money. I didn't know that. And so they were happy. I was happy. Pa, the guy who owns the bakery, was, over the moon because all of a sudden it was like free advertising, and he's from the Gambia, he's from Africa. So it was like a big thing for him. And so I came to realize that if you're out there shooting and kind of channeling your photography into some sort of storytelling medium, be it at a blog or like some social media or just pitch it, things start happening. I mean, literally nothing happened because I knew people and I just put it out there. And apparently the editor of Ethiopian Airlines, he was kind of, he just wanted it.
Well, they need to have stories in their magazines, I get, which they need to renew very often, I think every few months. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that was like, there used to be a lot of airline magazines before COVID, and most of them, they went online because it wasn't worth it for them to just pay the money to have like a physical magazine. But right now, this trend is reversing. And this particular one, I didn't know that at the time. But this was supposed to be the first properly printed issue they had since COVID. Okay. So it was kind of like a big thing for them.
Yeah, so they were inspired to start again.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't happen like this, that you shoot the story and then for yourself, for your own blog, and then you find someone who wants to also buy it, which is amazing. Yeah. How do you normally find clients? I imagine there is times that you are busier, there is times that is more quiet.
Oh man, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, so the times you are busy, that's fine. Obviously, you work in the industry for long enough to have some people they already know you, they will anyway come to you. But I am asking more about the times that is not as busy, it's quiet, and you need to proactively go and find the people. Yeah. So what are the ways you would say you would use to do that?
Well, what you do is like, I keep making notes of people I want to work with, be it agencies, magazines, editors, platforms. So if I see something that I'm interested, I just make a note like, I'd love to write to those guys. So when the time comes where there is nothing to do, you just kind of say, okay, I'm going to book this week completely to do, as we say in photography, hustling. So hustling is all about sending portfolios and work to people, getting to know them in a kind of nice way. You just don't push anything. You just say, look, I'm here, I've done these things. I believe my style is kind of compatible with what you guys do. Or if it's an agency, just like, you don't have that, so I believe I could be a good fit to kind of, like complete your puzzle of people.
How do you find their contacts of these people that you like?
Well, if it's all about internet these days. I mean, there are people who would tell you have to buy those lists, like bikini lists and this kind of thing. Sorry about the cough, guys. I've been having like this weird thing for like over 2 weeks now. It doesn't go away, hence the water. So.
And I make you talk too much, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's all right. That's right. So, yeah, let's say you find a magazine, okay? You want to work with, I don't know, food and travel magazine. Mm-hmm. So there are, either you can go online and find the people who work there and just start finding, emails, or you just buy the magazine and just see, the masthead, who's the director of photography or like image something or like some editor. Mm-hmm. And then you just try to find their email. So to find their email, you just you can Google things, you can go on LinkedIn, sometimes they have it there, sometimes they don't. There are certain free tools like Rocket Search.
We use sometimes Apollo.
There are lots
Yeah.
of things. Either you have to pay them or you get like 5 free searches per month or something like that. But you can log in with different emails to have like, to make the best out of it. Or you just start calling people, friends of friends, guys, do you know somebody who knows this guy? Or the other thing you can do is just follow them on Instagram and just send a message.
Okay.
90% of the cases that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work unless the people just follow you or know somebody who follows you or something. So at some point you end up with the list of emails you have. And then you just write a very nice email, like just one email at a time, not like some 35 CCs. Hey guys, I'm Manos, I'm amazing, work with me. Because obviously they know you don't give a shit, Sorry about that. But one email at a time. I mean, if you're interested, let's say I want to write to you and you're an editor. The first thing I need to do is like, sorry about that, is to, what have you done lately? So I just see your latest 2 projects, I get familiar with them, and then I write, look, I've seen your work and I love what you do and I love this and this thing. So I've done something similar, so I want you to know about it, and I'll be happy to come over and show you more work, or just keep me in mind for your network. And that's how it goes. That's what I do. Other people are more aggressive. I don't know, they just go to pubs where editors hang around, or commercial. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And the other thing is networking. I mean, if I see an event where people are probably going to be there, I just go there and just say, oh, you're this guy? Yeah, I've seen that work and I'd very much like to get to know you. I mean, if you're nice, there's no reason for them not to be nice. Worst case scenario, they're super busy and you just say, okay, sorry, yeah, whenever you have time, or just write an email or just follow them. It's a slow process. But there are no shortcuts there.
So basically know your industry, know who you like in the industry.
You have to know your industry. I mean, why the hell wouldn't you know your industry? You know what I mean? I mean, if you're in an industry, you just need to know who's doing what, just because it's very interesting.
Is there any case that you go on a trip, let's say you go to Crete to photograph the food and the landscape and the people in a village in Crete? Is there a chance you go there to do that project, but you end up also using some of the images for a different client, a different project? Can you use...
Yeah, in theory that is possible, but when you're there, it's not. Because you don't have time. I'm going to die very soon, so sorry about that. So in theory, you always think that I'm going to be there, so I'm going to spend another 2 days to just go to this place and shoot that. But once you're there, you're so much under stress about your specific assignment. You use all available time to just do the best for that. And then that's the one reason. The other is that you're in a specific state of mind. So if I'm in Crete and I'm assigned to shoot this community of artists living in a place in Iraklio, this is a real assignment I'm talking about now.
Okay.
I'm kind of set myself in the mood to talk and mingle with those guys. So all of a sudden, if I want to shoot some high-class resort to sell it to, I don't know, travel and leisure, I'm not in that state of mind. So it's not like I can go for a day that just switch my brain and become like a glam photographer.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit to do that. I can't. Maybe other people can. But I'm always kind of very sorry guys, silly.
Yeah, you want to focus on the
thinking.
thing, yeah. You said that you recently opened an online print shop, which I thought was also very interesting. It's one of the things I never thought of doing.
Yeah, that is...
And it took you a long time to set up and put together.
It did.
Would you ever use, I mean, obviously you're going to use some of the images that you have made for other projects on the print shop.
Yeah.
But now that you have the print shop, would you ever go on a trip to maybe start a book or to start a story for a magazine or something like this, and also have at the back of your mind the print shop and how you could do a couple of prints?
Yeah, probably. Well, the print shop is, the thing is these days, everybody will tell you in the industry, budgets for editorial photography are on the way down. I mean, in the old days, and when I say the old days, I mean the days before I was active, people used to get money from magazines and organizations and used to travel for a month somewhere and bring back amazing material. That just doesn't happen anymore. So right now you're very much under stress, budgets are very low, people don't pay you proper flights, so you can't spend a lot of time somewhere just producing amazing material. But what you can do is you need to find different streams of income for your travel material. So what I'm doing is, I mean, I had like those amazing assignments a few years back. There was this really beautiful travel platform from Switzerland, and they had assigned me to shoot big parts of Italy and Greece. And the good thing was they had the right to have exclusive rights for those photos for a specific amount of time, and then they had the option to either extend the exclusivity or not extend it. So they went for not extending it, meaning that they still have the right to use the stuff, but I have also rights to do whatever I want with them. I can sell them to a bank or whoever. So I ended up with a lot of material which slowly started forming certain projects. So I kind of like started editing it. And I used to have a small print shop, but I had like 5 pictures selling. And then I realized people used to call me like, oh, can I have a print of that shot of yours? Or this shot of yours? Because my work lends it to a thing like that, because it's like sometimes like this shot over there, it's like not the chicken, the one before. Oh. So it's like stuff that might look nice on a wall. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to create a print shop, which is like a thing that is happening worldwide now. Many artists do that. The trouble with the print shop is it's easy to visualize it, but it's very hard to make it properly work, because you have to make it, it's not like a website where if something goes wrong, it's just your website. It doesn't work for a day, it's going to work the next day. A print shop it's a shop. People rely on it. People want to have like a really good print, affordably priced, and it needs to arrive at their place, wherever that might be. They might live in, I don't know, Rio de Janeiro or New York or London or Greece or Berlin. And you have to kind of like create all the infrastructure. And it took me like, I don't know, 1.5 years to set it up. It was a joke among my friends. They were like, yeah, it's Manos print shop. Yeah, it's never going to happen, So it launched about 2 weeks ago, and it's actually quite nice. I mean, it works. I was very impressed that it works, because I did it on my own. I mean, I didn't want to. It's like a very expensive thing if you want to outsource it. I got like quotes for like 10,000 quid or something, like 5,000 for somebody to set it up for me, which wasn't an option because it was supposed to bring money, not.
Yeah.
So, the idea is to have this. I mean, I've got the blog, I've got the print shop, and I've got my normal assignment work. So the idea is, if I have like a beautiful idea about like doing something, I can always tell myself I'm doing it for the blog, and if some nice shots come around, I might put them on the print shop. So it's kind of a system. Yeah.
It's a little bit like we hear a lot of people here saying the same thing, that you need to do a variety of things, that somehow they are connected together. And
yeah, this is, I mean, depending on what you do in photography, I mean, you have to have some sources of income, because there are times when there's nothing happening. I mean, there might be like 2 or 3 weeks where the phone just doesn't ring. Not only at me, at everybody. And unless your way of working has to do, Like, I mean, there are people who have like a constant stream of work because they do like certain types of photography, like e-commerce or wedding photography, or they do like they work for in the news. So you always get assignments to do everyday stuff. I'm not like that. I'm getting assignments that I might be working for a month, like I was in the summer. I did like a cookbook, and then it was like quiet. So I just make use of the quiet times to kind of create assignments for myself. I mean, that is the idea, at least.
When we spoke about this last week, you said to me that you have a list of ideas about how to promote this print shop.
Yeah, I have a list of ideas. I don't know if they're going to work.
But what are like the first three you're going to try to promote the print shop?
Well, the print shop started with two projects. One is an old personal project of mine, and another one is a collection of images that kind of have to do with the notion of what the perfect summer is. So summary pictures in a way. So one of the ideas is to kind of try to make one of those projects part of one of those big platforms, like It's Nice That or Ignant, this kind of thing. Because they always look for content. So these are platforms that kind of promote a series of, of artworks, like paintings or whatever, or like a nice, series of flowers somebody shot in France. So one of the things is I'm trying to pitch them there, because they have like huge followings. So the whole idea with the print shop is just to make people interested in it and just kind of guide eyes onto it. Like people just need to see it. I mean, nobody will just buy a print out of nowhere, even if it's a nice print. They just want to buy the story or buy a print that connects to something they experienced. I mean, I know for a fact people sell prints. I mean, there are print shops of like touristy destinations. So let's say you went to Italy and you had like an amazing time and you want to buy a sunset from, I don't know,
a specific location,
Naples,
yeah,
where you had like amazing martinis or something. That's not what I'm doing though. I mean, those guys, they just market it differently. I'm just trying to have like a kind of a fine art, contemporary photography feel to it, because this is my style anyway. So that would be the one thing. The other thing would be to create a newsletter and just nurture it. Like people who are interested in my work, I'm just kind of trying to stay in touch, but that provide a little bit of storytelling connected to the print shop. I mean, the print shop is just like a hobby. It's not like something I have time to really invest a lot of time in. It's just it needs to be there because it's a structured way of selling images to people who are interested. Because I used to have all those calls, like friends used to call, like, I want to have this image, how much is it? And all the time I had to think, okay, hang on, I need to find the price, what's going to be the size, it just, for every bloody print I was selling, I spent like 2 days organizing it, which is not a great return on investment. So I kind of structured the thing, so these sizes, these are the prices, always limited editions, if it's gone, and that's it. So people are going, and very few images. I'm just going to be adding a little bit over time. I don't want to have a print shop where they're like, I mean, I've got a huge archive, but I don't want to have like a print shop where it's like, yeah, exactly, you're going to be lost in there. It's crazy. So it's kind of...
You want to make it feel more special.
Yeah, exactly. And I spend a long time on each image, like really perfecting it in the way I want it, and just to have a story about it. So when you buy an image, you get like an A4, like nicely printed with what's it about, what's going on. You just feel, at least that's how I'm intending to do, right? I mean, I'm a photographer. I'm not a merchant, so that's a new thing.
I want to ask you a lot of things, but we already exceeded the time. Let's open it up. Yes, questions. Julius.
Thank you for sharing. Hi. Sorry, can we just mic
Oh, yeah, sorry, Julius, we'll give you a mic today. Last time we couldn't hear you.
Okay, thanks. I know this is the right term, but have you, with your print and print shops, do you look at things like NFTs at all? Or?
No. This is a pretty certain no. Just because NFTs is much more interesting if you do digital stuff. If you produce digital artwork, like if I would be producing like some weird AI stuff or some CGI things or some video art, I might be considering it. But for a tactile photography, for a piece of paper that you buy, the only use I could have for an NFT would be to kind of connect it as a certificate of authenticity or something. But it's something a little bit beyond me, to be honest. I mean, I looked into it out of sheer interest because I'm very interested in all these like blockchain things, but I don't think there is a usage for what I do. There are other artists who offer NFTs, but it's a little bit a can of worms because you really need to know what you're doing, and there's always this little kind of fraud factor. So you need to kind of do it in a way that it's legit and decent, and you don't just do it to get some money out of somebody to offer something that is, you know, an airy-fairy situation. But it's a very interesting thing, but it's not something I'm looking into now.
Yeah, okay. Can I ask another question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't want to hog.
That's okay.
Yeah. You talk about the type of work you're doing for, let's just say, tourism. It's broadest sense.
Okay.
You go to take a picture of wherever you're travelling to, and you said there's a distinction between what somebody's taking a picture, let's say you're in London, of St Paul's Cathedral, as opposed to what you're doing, which is more kind of art, emotional type of feel to it. What's the what's more lucrative? I just interested to know what's got more demand.
I wish I knew. I don't know. Look, the thing is, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not doing proper travel work or like touristy work. If I'm booked by somebody to shoot, let's say, I don't know, the best hotels in Andalusia in Spain or something, I will definitely go and do it. But I don't see really what the reason would be to sell pictures of a resort. What I'm more interested in is like moments that they might occur during a shoot that I might end up being, I don't know, just driving by a beach, and there might be something happening, like some composition of waves and kids and whatever. And I might take a picture there, and I might use this picture for my own archive or my own series of ideal summers or whatever. It might not be a perfect picture. It might be like not a great picture, but it might be a strong picture. Whereas proper tourist photography, let's call it like that, it has to do with a certain technical perfection, which I can produce, but it's not sellable as Manos. It's sellable to the client who wants to promote their hotel or the bar or whatever. It's like the same with a foodie thing. It's like I would compare it to a food shot for a commercial purpose, let's say for a billboard outside, like an amazing drink. And the same drink as an editorial thing, I would probably use a sandy hand or whatever, you know. So it's kind of like, I think I'm much more interested as a photographer for personal projects. I'm much more interested in imperfect things, whereas a perfect photograph is more for the client and less for the photographer. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
So the stuff where you're just saying you're on the road, as it were, just doing your thing, and then you sort of come into a town, you see a really nice restaurant, and it's got a bit of atmosphere, it's got that special stuff you're looking for. but it's no assignment. Do you just go in there and talk to the owners and say, look, this is what I do, can I spend some time, or do you even, is it more kind of just random, you say, I'm going to take a...
Well, it depends really. I mean, if it has happened many times that I just pass by some place, let's say a barber shop, and I don't know, I just like the place. I just feel somehow connected to it, and I just go in there, and there's some guy, and I say, hi, I'm this, I'm doing that, you know. I'd love to take some pictures. You just write a little piece about you.
Yeah.
50-50. They might say, yeah, no, mate, it's okay. You know, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
People are sometimes a little bit afraid that you're some weirdo, you know. Yeah, I mean, or they can say, yeah, let's do this. And depending on how that goes, it might just end up in my, in my cupboard, and I'll just send a couple of nice pictures to the person just as a thank you, and nothing happens out of it. Or it might be part of a series, or it might be like a little thing for my Instagram.
Yeah.
Or it might end up with a shot for the print shop. I don't know. It just has to happen organically, because most of these things are very spontaneous. You just see something that you're interested in, and you just keep coming back to it. Or like I've got this, if you go into the print shop, there is a series of these very weird things. In Greece, we have those electricity meters. They just are pretty much everywhere. Yeah. So while shooting an assignment, I came to realize that those guys, I can show you later on, they look very different one from the other. Greeks call them turtles because they look like turtles a little bit. And everybody keeps painting them, according to the wall, or people just put flower pots on them, or they just hang, like oregano to dry from them. Weird stuff. So I started documenting them over a very long period of time, but without having I didn't have a concept. I just liked them, I mean, who wants that? And then during a quiet time, I just sat down and just had them printed out in small prints, like 10 to 15, and put them all on a table. And I realized that that's a bloody project, mate. So out of that became a series, which was exhibited in London like a couple of times. And I sold quite a lot of those. But it wasn't about selling, it was just like, I just like them. I did a zine out of them, and I wrote a piece about them. It's just like evolved. It's just something that, it's like a musician. You just are assigned to play for a band, but when you go home, you just take your saxophone and just play for yourself. It's the same thing, more or less. It's just good fun. Yeah. A lot of work, but good fun.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
I'm interested in your self-assignments, the one that you do for yourself.
Okay.
The question will be, in yourself, because when you're doing books, you've got like an aesthetic or some rules that you need to follow but when you do your own, you do something that you want to challenge yourself, or you want to try something different, or something that you haven't done before, or it's a way for you to explore a little bit, or it's just...
That's a good question, actually. It starts with some sort of inspiration, okay? I just see something, or I think of something, and I just want to do it. So I have to have some concept. I just can't show up there and just start taking pictures. I have to have like an idea, a visual idea of how this is supposed to look like, but not as a whole. I just need like 2 or 3 pictures that I have in my head. So let's say I just see a flower shop, okay, which might look lovely in a certain time of the day because the sun goes in. So I just see it and say, okay, that looks lovely. And then I have to find, to see if there is a story to say there, if there is a story to tell. So I'm just starting to think, okay, so this is a flower shop, and it looks lovely at this specific time of the day because the sun is coming in, but that is not a story, that is just a shot. It's just like something nice. And then I have to go there and see if there is a story, just talk to the people and say like, look, how did you guys set up? I like what you've done here. How did it start? So if they have a story to tell, then I'm getting inspired, and I'm just starting to kind of storyboard it in my head. So I have the person sitting there, the other person's doing this, the flowers, and then they say something. So at the end of the day, you've got, like, let's say, I imagine I might have like 10 images and a story to go with them, which is kind of, might be interesting for somebody who's not me to read. There is always a subtle attraction to that, and it has to do probably with some subconscious thing about me. Like all photographers, they kind of like always shoot things that they are deeply interested in. But I have also to find a way to understand, so that I understand what I'm doing. Because sometimes you just start shooting and it just doesn't lead anywhere. Yeah, I mean, I always, when I start shooting something, I always have the feeling that I don't know what I'm doing. Most of the time I have this feeling, and then as it evolves, I find out, I discover what I'm doing. I think it's a little bit of a...
Therapeutic?
It's a little bit of a creative process. I mean, I know painters who just start with a white canvas and they have no bloody idea what they're doing when they start doing. They just want to explore certain colors or certain tones or certain volumes or certain compositions, but they're not sure what the result is going to be. Some people are like that. I am definitely like that. I mean, I cannot plan anything from the start.
So the project is your way of finding out what you're interested in?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a personal exercise, to be honest. It's like taking a walk into a neighborhood that you've never been before, and you just want to cover it and see what's there on a level of a personal assignment, okay? Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is you learn so much from that because it's very, very hard. I mean, if you, like for example, the baker you mentioned before, when I met him, I mean, I'm always I act as a shy person because I am deep inside me, I am a shy person. I mean, I don't want to disturb anybody. But when you're there, and you're working, you obviously will disturb the people. So it has to be worth it. So you need to have something that will add value to what you're doing, and the people will understand it. It's the same when you do an assignment. I mean, you really have to push it to a level where it's interesting. You might have something that doesn't look interesting at the beginning, and then you have to push it to make it interesting. I might have, like a dish of, I don't know, French fries, and it's a recipe of that particular book because they're cooked in a specific way. I mean, it's French fries, for God's sake. What do you want to do with them? You got to find a way, be it the light or close-up or something. It has to look interesting. So it's a struggle sometimes. You just feel lost sometimes. But you have to make it interesting. And if it's not interesting, I mean, even if it's a good shot, you're going to get away with it. But for yourself to be happy with it, you always have to push it a little bit more. Just say like, when the shot is done, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I always shoot tethered, so I look at the computer. I'm like, it's okay, it looks good. But just give me another 10 minutes. We might just turn that and just do this, Yeah. It might be nothing, but that's still you fought for it.
The shot is done after the shot was done. Basically, you do it well enough, and then you
pretty
push
much.
it further, and then you get it done even better.
Yeah, the word was challenging yourself. I like that. You have to challenge yourself to just do it a little bit better than the last time. You just look at I look at those books, and I like them. They're nice books, okay? But I always see some sort of, not mistakes, but things I would have done differently if I do them now. I think it's a very healthy thing.
Yeah.
It crushes you because you always feel like, oh God, what am I doing? Why is that thing here? Why didn't I move that to the left?
I mean, by definition, you're better after you finish the project than before you started. You're better at whatever you're doing.
Probably.
Not probably, it's like any task you do. Like
Yeah.
let's say you cook.
Yeah.
Every time you cook the same dish, you will do it. You will be better after you finish.
Yeah.
So you can judge your.
This is true, but
past
that, you also need to be a little bit careful that you don't go too far. Because sometimes the shot is okay, it's nice. You just feel a little bit insecure, and you just start doing things. And everybody tells you, mate, you know, it's fantastic. You don't need to move anything. You just, yeah, maybe. So you need to know where to stop, especially with food. Because with food, you just add things, and then you have like a weird dish with lots of sauce on it.
Did it answer your question?
I hope.
Anyone else?
Do you have a process by which you talk about the challenge of finding? It was a video project, but I had to photograph tea, 6 different teas, and it took me about 4 weeks because I couldn't connect with these blessed tea leaves and thinking of.
Okay, I totally get that. Yeah.
So do you have a process by which you, or a means by which you find inspiration?
Well, okay, so these days I would say like a lot of stuff is online. So if I get completely stuck and I don't know what to do, I just check out Pinterest or something, or like I just search for a book, or I just go to foils and just check out photography, but not necessarily of this particular subject. For example, I'm very, very inspired by painting. I'm not copying painting by any stretch. My photography has nothing to do with it, but I'm very inspired by how great painters use light, composition, and color. And I find one of the best things I do is like if I go very often to foils or waterstones and just check the latest cookbooks because I have to, you know, it's what I do. But I always end up in the art department and just check like photography or designers or you know, old masters of painting and stuff, because it's very inspirational on a kind of creative level without, I can't really explain it. It's just you just have like input, and then all of a sudden, if you have a lot of input, you find solutions to problems you thought you wouldn't be able to find. So yeah, there are like how do you call it, cheat sheets? So there are cheat sheets. So if you get stuck with a certain thing, you just go to photographers you know they've done it before, and you just see how did they do it. And there is a certain way of doing things, and then you say, right, so yeah, so he used a very much lower angle than I used, and that looks better than that angle. So now the trick there is not to copy, but kind of to adapt what they did to your thing. I mean, copying is a very unsatisfying thing, and I can't copy well. So if you just give me a very specific thing to do, to just repeat it, if you give me a cutting from a magazine and tell me, look, I want you to do the exact same thing, I don't think I can do it. I'm not the kind of guy who does that. I mean, it's just the ability that I don't have. It's not that I don't want to do it. Other people who are very analytical can do that. I can't. I'm kind of like more compositional. I don't even know the word. But at least I know that this kind of photography works the way this person has done it. So I start from there, because I might have started on the wrong foot. I might have started with the wrong angle. So I start from what they did, and then I just try to make it my style. That's my 2 cents about that. I know, I mean, sometimes you get so much stuck, especially with you know, the worst feeling you can have when you're starting an assignment is that it's an easy one. There's no such thing as an easy assignment for anybody. I mean, even I saw a documentary lately about Martin Scorsese, and I was amazed of how insecure he is after he's done shooting, because he has no bloody idea how he's going to edit the movie. I mean, we're talking about Martin Scorsese here. So it's a blank canvas. People are afraid. There's a certain fear about, not failure, but did I manage to do what I wanted to do? But if you sit there and start doing it, it happens. So whenever I have an assignment, any assignment, even like just, I don't know, shoot 2 eggs on a table, I get terrified, to be honest, because I have certain ideas of how I'm going to do it, but then when I start doing it, it starts looking banal and starts looking like very boring, and I'm like, oh God. So the idea I had is boring. So what am I supposed to do now? I just need to kind of like do something with it to make it better. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, time-wise. I'm happy to invest that time. But it's always about pushing the envelope a little bit further, I think. I mean, at the end of the day, you might just do a shot that is technically wrong, but visually much more interesting, which I always find a good solution sometimes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Do you ever cook the
Mike.
Oh, there's a silly. I was just going to say, do you ever cook the recipes that you?
Sorry?
Do you cook the recipes that you take the photos of?
No. That's impossible, because I always have a hell of a lot to do to set it up. No, we have usually a food stylist who does that,
Yeah.
or if it's a book, sometimes the author, they cook themselves. And we have like mostly a prop stylist who sets up stuff.
Yeah.
I do a lot of prop styling myself, but to be honest, it's so much work to source everything, to prepare everything, and then at the day of the shoot, you're so exhausted if you do more than one thing. Ideally, I need to have like a food stylist and a prop stylist there, so that I can concentrate on lighting things and moving things around.
Is it worthwhile networking with food stylists?
Oh, hell yeah, especially the young ones. Absolutely, because it's like the best thing you can do is just start testing. If you have an idea, you just write to some young stylist and say, look, I want to shoot, I don't know, cheesecakes. I want to have like I want to have this great cheesecake company. Where did that come from? Cheesecake company? Whatever. So I need to have in my portfolio some cheesecakes. So you just find a style. Say, look, I want to experiment with cheesecakes for a day. Are you game for that? So nobody pays anybody. You both just kind of like share the cost, and you just end up with some nice cheesecake shots. Cheesecake shots.
That's difficult to say.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's all about, if you have an idea, you just need to kind of sit down and just do it. People are actually, they love to cooperate if they have time. And the younger people are, the more time they have. So obviously like a very busy, expensive food stylist, they just wouldn't have time for you. For anybody really. They just, they have like very little time. But I did a wonderful project about 6-7 months ago with a stylist. I actually saw her work on Instagram and I loved what she did. So I just wrote and said, look, would you be interested to just do a day in the studio just to play around with an idea I have about vintage cakes, like British vintage cakes? And we started talking about it over a period of many months. And at some point she said, look, I have a free day in London that and that day. And I happen to be free as well. So we just did it. And it ended up in a beautiful project. This kind of thing.
Anything else? Anyone else? Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to add, Manos?
I don't know. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.